everybody. How you doing? Oh wait, we'll switch over. It is live. Sorry. There you go. You did it on your phone. Perfect. Hey everybody. Sorry. This is Mortals Inc. podcast. I'm Carlos Robles. I'm here again with Nate Elwood. We're gonna do some. I don't know. Sorry, I have Diana doing the technical part because we had to do an early podcast because Nate has a wedding today.
Well, not my wedding.
Oh, not Nate. Yeah. Nate has to be somewhere later.
A good friend's wedding, yes.
So we're all confused and we don't know what's going on. But yeah, Mortals Inc. podcast, Carlos Robles. Today we're going to review a game from Cubicle 7 called Adventures in Middle-earth for 5th edition.
It's a 5th edition add-on, yes.
So then... yeah, okay, we'll get to that. Sorry. But first, I want to just run over some things. I don't know if you guys know Kat and Kaylee and Gerardo and Ryan. Flavortex. Flavortex is our board game group that is actually getting a lot of stuff and a lot of press and a lot of, I don't want to say press, they're just getting a lot around. I don't know.
They're getting out there.
Yeah, they're getting out there. Popular. They're getting a little popular. But these are the 3 games that they said I should have, and we do have now. Root. You ever play this?
I've never even heard of Root.
Neither have I. It has a lot of birds and Seal of Excellence from Dice Tower. So I'm not making fun of it. But if you know what it is, we have it. That's one of the games. I'm going to put that down now.
Woodland Creature Battles, I take it?
Yeah.
All right.
Dice Throne, Season 1. We have that. I was trying to get Season 2, the different levels back in. But this is also another popular game that they suggest. And this one just came back in stock, was... Reichholt.
Any way you want to pronounce it.
We had an argument about how to pronounce it. I'm pretty sure it's Reichholt.
I've never heard of Reichholt. I guess it depends on the ethnicity that you're trying to.
Yeah, you look pretty Germanish. Yeah. It sounds like a German. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, just so everybody knows, we have those in stock, and they're.
Have they reviewed those games already?
I think Reichholt they're doing this weekend or last weekend or.
So if you guys are interested in it,
actually
check out the playtest.
All of these games are even like this should be the videos should be on our Facebook page, and then they have their own Facebook page, Flavortex. So if you want to go on there and ask them any questions and stuff like that, it'd be good. And
they do get back to you.
Yeah, they do. They're very active on there, so we're here for you. So anyway, let me turn it over to Nate now. And I'm sorry, it is so early for me. And I went.
Yeah, you're not your usual self.
I know I cannot focus and get on it. And then last night we had I had a drink, and I don't drink, so.
Oh.
I'm not
so addled this morning.
Yeah, I'm a little hungover, maybe, possibly. So.
It's tough when you get older.
I guess. Diana made me do it.
All right.
Oh, not Diana's telling us stuff. Good. Anyway, Nate, go ahead. Bye.
So what we got this week is right there. This is from Cubicle 7. It's the Adventures in Middle-earth Player's Guide. It's for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So it's about $40 retail. However, this is not a book that you just pick up and you're going to be role-playing with right away. This is meant to be used with the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition rules. So it's not. Don't want to say it's not for newbies, but you already have to have about $150 worth of books to begin with, because you have the Dungeon Master's Guide and the Player's Handbook and probably the Creature Catalog. So this is an add-on. Think of this as a setting for D&D 5th edition. Now, just saying it's a setting book, though, is kind of selling it really, really short.
So wait, that's not self-contained?
This is not self-contained.
Okay, you need the other book. Okay, that's important. All right.
This allows you to add a huge amount of flavor and a huge amount of background to your existing D&D game, or better put, taking D&D 5th edition and putting it into the Middle-earth and Tolkien fantasy.
Okay.
Because the two, you think they'd go hand in hand, but they really don't when you think about it. Like, Tolkien's really low magic.
No.
There's only a couple of wizards out there. I mean, throughout all the books, magic is kind of scary. It's really rare. There's magic items per se, but they're not. It's not D&D. You're not spell slinging. You're not.
Well, have you played the new 5th edition lately?
I've I have dabbled in it. I have not actually.
Magic items aren't as what they used to be. They don't hand them out like they used to anymore. And if you do hand them out too many, it becomes unbalanced very quickly. But the spells are still there and everything like that. But yeah, go ahead. But yeah, the magic items. I think they toned it back on the 5th edition, so that might work out with this too. So
and what they did really well in this book is made it feel like Middle Earth, not just a 5th edition where you're just home brewing it's taking place in Middle Earth. Like they gave you rules above what 5th edition gives that mesh pretty well, in my opinion, to make it feel a lot like Tolkien-esque. At first, when I first picked it up, I'm like, all right, so it's a setting book. And then when I got into it, though, I was really impressed by it. So, I mean, the book itself, it's a pretty good read. It's pretty dense. You got a lot of text in it. They need to cram a lot into it. The artwork is just like most of I think the other Cubicle 7, the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It's beautiful. They've really captured Tolkien and the Lord of the Rings in it. So it's a good layout and it's a good book.
Yeah, overall. I'm seeing Cubicle 7's got a lot. They really care about their art and they make it fit for the.
Yeah, and it pictures always say 1,000 words, and none of the pictures in here are just like throw in like, oh, we have a little corner here that we need to fill in. We don't have text for. We're just going to throw in Joe Schmo's artwork or whatever. They did a good job in that regard of it.
Cool.
So I got a lot of notes on this, so I'm just
how about
delve in.
How about when we start with character creation?
All right, so they've changed the rules quite a bit when it comes to character creation, and what they did, I liked a whole lot. So instead of picking a race, you pick a culture. So you have like the dwarves of the Iron Mountains, or you have the men of Bree, or Duodain Rangers, or whatnot. And based off the culture, you get different virtues and which are kind of like special gifts or abilities that are associated with each culture. Like an example would be like the dwarves of the Lonely Mountain. They have what's called broken spells or runesmithing, and they also have stronger than steel, so they resist corruption better. And we'll get to corruption in a minute there.
No.
And like the elves, the elves of Mirkwood are deadly archery and shadow bane, so that they actually fight the shadow creatures a little better. In game terms, it gives you additions to when you're fighting shadow creatures.
So it follows the actual world.
It follows Lord of the Rings
really,
really well. And another thing about this setting is they don't give you all of Middle Earth to work with. And at first I'm like, oh, it's kind of, who doesn't want to go through Gondor or something like that? But then again, it does make a lot of sense. The more that I read it, the more that it started to make sense of why they focus on the smaller part of the world called the Wilder Lands. It's basically the western edge of Rohan and the Grey Mountain area and the Mirkwood, like right after Smaug was destroyed and then Necromancer was gone. So it's now just starting to become habitable by all these different factions. So there's a lot of intrigue, it's a good setting for it, because
is this after like the books?
This is after The Hobbit, basically. I mean, you know what's going to happen in the greater.
So it's before Lord of the Rings,
right?
And after The Hobbit.
So you know Frodo and the Fellowship's coming and all.
Right.
Like it's giving you a really nice blank palette to paint your own stories in, but still inside Middle Earth, which
you're not part of the main story. You're part of some side.
No, I'm sure you could, if you really wanted to homebrew it all.
You
could do that, but yeah, this is really
that gets old sometimes.
Yeah, if you already know what happens,
what are you
not
going
a
to
good
do?
story.
You can't stop.
Right,
Frodo. Just to keep going.
Yeah. I mean it. And that's another part of it that at first I'm like, oh, but then when I started reading, I'm like, that really makes sense, and I really like what they did there. It's not just going to be hand and fist, like this goes to this, goes to this, goes to... Everybody won't know exactly what's going on as you progress. So I like that a lot. Now the classes are different too. they're more like vocations as opposed to actual like normally D&D, you make a fighter, they can swing a sword, and as they go along, they get progressively better at swinging said sword.
Mm-hmm.
The classes, however, are a lot more flavorful and a lot more, in my opinion.
So all the dwarves sing. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You can leave that Tolkien part out, man. This text of singing for no reason.
He enjoys his singing.
But each class has certain perks to them and abilities. Like, there's no clerics per se. Like, you don't just walk up to somebody and heal them by casting a spell. If you're a scholar, and you might know herbology, and if you can find the right herbs, you can heal them up and everything. So it makes the game. They take a lot of things that D&D just glosses over, like equipment or certain skills aspects, all that stuff. That D&D just goes, okay, we'll get rid of that. We're just going to go straight to spell slinging and killing monsters.
An adventure,
and stuff.
yeah.
Right.
Just power through it.
They take a lot of that, condense it down, and blend it in really well so that it makes the game definitely more grittier. I'd assume with how it's set up that fatalities are, I wouldn't say extremely common, but they'd happen probably more often than in a regular D&D game where you can just go to any town and find some cleric to heal you up or something like that.
Yeah, it sounds like that's part of the adventure if you get hurt. You don't want to get hurt, so you don't want to get into danger. So because it does, D&D does, I shouldn't say gloss it, but that's just their way of, hey, you're healed.
Yeah.
I mean,
it just comes down to numbers at that point. You lose 6 hit points. All right, well, somebody heals me.
Yeah, somebody heal me. But,
right.
I like that idea the game can be. Yeah, not if they're rolling a 1.
Yeah, ones.
But,
the ones.
Yeah, I like that idea that the game could be part of the game is actually getting your friend or your cohort or whatever to, you have to rest. You have to get him out of there and heal him, and he may or may not make it, or he or she.
And they even address that in here. How adventurers aren't adventuring constantly. It's not like you're on the road, all the time.
No,
there's parts where you're going to go on long journeys, but a lot of times you will eventually go back home for a little bit. And they have a nice system in here for your downtime and what you can do during your downtime, and that applies to making your character better one aspect or another. Again, it's small rules that don't break the system, and they're not overly complicated either. Like, I was glad that it wasn't a ton of different roles, a ton of this, a ton of that. You have to keep track of a little more information, a little more bookkeeping, but it fills in real nice to your basic D&D game.
Can you use the character creator on the D&D
no,
website?
This is you would not be. I mean, I haven't checked it out, but I'm pretty sure because of all the changes, you would not. Is
there a separate character sheet?
Okay,
yeah.
There's so many.
So you couldn't translate your D&D character into this world?
No.
Okay.
No, this is not. This is you starting from scratch or
nothing at all. Yeah. Okay.
There's also there's backgrounds in 5th edition. This expands upon the backgrounds, but generalizes them more towards each culture and each class and whatnot. And then you have virtues, which is something new, where there are new kinds of traits unique to each culture. And you gain those as you go up in experience or whatnot. Overall, making a character took me about, and this is me going through, and mind you, I didn't have a whole lot of 5th edition experience. I've only played a handful of times.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So pulling out the 5th edition book and this book and going through, it took me about an hour to create a character. But in that hour...
With very little knowledge of 5th edition.
Right.
Okay.
But in that hour, I think I was able to flesh that character out really, really well and make a character I would really like to play this. Like, it wasn't just like I'm just going to create a character to see how the numbers work and how this and that work. I really like how they kind of encompass the whole... when you create a character, you're creating your part in a movie, basically. And they did a good job of that. They did a good job of it.
With a good background like that.
Yeah, and it makes it easy to do because you are with your culture. Not everybody's going to be an atypical member of their culture, but it's like if you pick this culture, this is what they have, and this is what they're good at, what they're not.
And like you said, you say culture. It's like the Dwarfs culture.
Right. You have like the Dwarves of the Lonely Mountain.
The Halfling culture, or the Hobbit culture.
Hobbit of the Shire, and you have the Men of Bree and the Men of Gondor.
I'm going to assume it's all good races, right?
Yeah,
or what they consider good races.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have
What those people consider good racing.
right. You don't have any giant spider races or goblins or anything like that. Another thing about this book, though, is there's
Sauron. Can I play Sauron? No.
There's no actual creatures in here either. This is just a player's book. So
no monsters.
If you're going to run this is just creating characters and what they add to the 5th edition rule set to play this game.
Well, they do have a lot of they have a fair amount of supplements out now.
Yeah, I see that they're coming out with, I think, a Lonely Mountain supplement.
The Laughing Dragon or something like that.
And I think they're going to have a DMG, whatever they're going to call a Lore Master.
Yeah, they have it already. Lore Master. They had some map sets, and they have some creatures like sections or whatever. I could see where they would build. They're starting to like build into different worlds.
And I can see why. Like, to be honest, 5th edition is huge. Like when I was growing up, I never expected Dungeons and Dragons to be something that would be mainstream ever.
Like maybe your wife that's never played a game in the world that played, and then all of a sudden she's...
Now they sell it at Target, and kids talk about it. So
I know. My wife can't wait to play tonight, and they get mad when they can't.
Sounds like we should venture into this next.
Well, Nate's always trying to get you guys to...
Yeah. I guess doing a little guest spot on a GM ain't bad at all.
Yeah, I need a break.
They
test me.
Another interesting aspect of it is the journey system. So at the back of the book, there's actually an entire map of the Wilderlands. Let me put that up there.
If you hold it by that over there, you can see
like
it.
Yeah. There we go.
For those that can't see, it's a multicolored map of the western edge of... Is it the western edge?
Yeah, the western edge of Rohan in between the Middle Mountains. It's the setting for this Adventures in Middle Earth. The Wilder Lands is what it's called. It's.
I'm sure there's a whole history of it out there.
Oh yeah. If there's one thing that Middle Earth has, it's tons and tons of backstory.
Oh,
I mean, Tolkien created an entire. The Silmarillion is just a history book about a creation myth. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of pages of stuff. So there's plenty of background material if you're getting into this for you to draw off of. But what I like about this is there's actually rules for doing a journey. So again, one of those things that's normally glossed over in D&D is, I want to go from Shadowdale to Waterdeep. Okay, well, as the GM, if you're like, I really don't want to feel like role-playing 3 months of stuff, and I don't have a whole lot of other encounters. Okay, you get there.
I can't. As a DM, I can't.
Yeah, the journey part is one of the hardest things to GM.
It's so much work. It's like, all right, you're just there,
What they did was took, again, one of the things that's glossed over, and they actually put a little system in that is kind of cool, where the PCs all kind of come together and be like, all right, you assign tasks. Like, I'm going to be the guide, I'm going to be the scout, I'm going to be whatever. And you actually plot your course, and looking over this map, it's all color-coded for a reason. Parts of it are easier to travel through. Parts of it are downright deadly to travel through. That gives it all these modifiers go to a difficulty number, and then you roll on it. And that will give you how well that journey goes. And it's not overly... It sounds complicated, but it really isn't. It took me about
there's no
2 times to read through it and be like, okay, I got that down. That makes a whole lot of sense.
So just from you explaining it, are you saying like... You plot the course and you go through where it tells, and whatever the modifiers, and at the end you make a roll and it tells you, like, say he lost this or did this, or
your journey went overall. It went like this.
Okay.
And then it's up to you as a GM to interpret that overall thing. Like horrific, obviously, something bad is really you guys lost all your horses and whatnot. But yeah, there's a lot of interpretation to it, but it makes, again, those things that are glossed over so much kind of come together and be an active part of the game.
I remember we lost all our horses.
my wife got very upset that all our horses died in
if you
another
ever
adventure.
want to tick off your PCs, take away one of their toys.
I know, the horses.
It will. Oh, it's golden, but it's evil too.
I know.
The other extra rule to make it more Tolkien, really, like, I'm sure anybody out here everybody's almost either watched the movies or read the books.
Mm-hmm.
As you journey or travel, you always come across dramatic personae. So they even have a little, I guess, sub-rule set called audiences, where as you're traveling through different parts of this Wilderlands, depending on the makeup of your group, the interactions you have with the people that live there is affected that way too. You come across dramatic personae, but you also come across your average folk. And if you have a bunch of elves traveling into the Lonely Mountains, you're going to be treated very differently than if you have a bunch of dwarves traveling through them.
Oh.
So it takes it again, the stuff that's glossed over. It takes and it goes, okay, it's always been a central part of Tolkien's work. It's how the different races interact with each other.
Everybody hates each other.
Right. And what's really cool about this is there's a lot of intrigue. There's so many factions that are now coming to this part of the world. It leaves it pretty open to whatever design you want to come up with. And over all of this is one of the coolest parts of it is the shadow, or Sauron's influence on it all. So you have what's called corruption. So the shadow will influence everything and everybody, and including the PCs. So each PC has a shadow weakness determined by their class, which the shadow, or Sauron, tries to exploit.
Mm-hmm.
As you gain corruption by experiencing despair, or you fall prey to your own shadow weakness, or you're exposed to the shadow, places deep in shadow power, or if you commit evil yourself, you could actually go temporarily insane, or you suffer, you become miserable, which means that any charisma skills automatically fail, and you have a -1 to just about everything. You just think of it as almost like clinical depression. You know, like the world is, you're just so down because you realize the futility of it all and all that stuff. And if you get to a certain point, you actually go temporarily insane. The GM will take your character for a little bit. It resets your shadow points, but you now get a disorder. And as time goes on, that disorder can get agitated. So it's a slow decline into insanity, which I really like too, because if there was one thing Tolkien did, which Tolkien did great too. Like Boromir is one of the best examples.
Oh yeah.
Like he
lost his mind.
Right. He goes from a little unhinged because he's got daddy issues.
Yeah.
And then just as he goes through and he's around something so powerfully shadow that he just starts to eventually go insane. And I think they use this system. It's simple enough to be able to add in where it's not like,
man, I should add that to my game.
There
I should
you
get
go.
that.
So excited.
I should add that to my D&D game. I should add that to that is a good idea.
Yeah.
It's
It
almost
makes
like
the characters be a little more adventure-y, not just mercenary.
Yeah.
Because
That's
I mean, you could play a mercenary and watch your entire group slowly decline. I mean, and then just set off to Mordor one day.
The group I have right now, their group that my wife's staying, with Josh and my other friends and stuff like that, they would be slowly going insane. The way that's totally relevant to our game right now. If there was this shadow feature, they'd be all hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
They would all be hit.
I would love it.
They would.
Well, I mean, and that's another aspect of it too. You could, depending on the group that you want. I mean, that might be almost a goal. Like after a while, you might be like, you know what? I'd rather be, a prince in hell than nothing in heaven. So they just go out, start doing evil, and then head off to Mordor and join up.
But the thing, they're like not trying to do. That's the funny part. That's why it's making me like, because they're not trying to be evil, but they keep doing evil things. and
So you say.
and then, but I like that feature. That's cool because then that brings the world together. Like that's one big problem for everybody,
Right.
No matter where you're at,
And
whether
each
you're
culture is
it could
different.
be like it could be a farmer or a miner, or you could be the soldier, and it affects everyone.
Yes.
So that's just shows how powerful that. Also shows how powerful.
I mean,
I
you have Tolkien here, right? So he's one of the lost generation. Like just read Hemingway if you want to know what the lost generation thought. So there's always this darkness that overshadows everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only lost generation author that didn't write about it was probably Lewis, but he was more
silly.
well, I think Lewis was more look for the bright side of things.
Yeah.
Whereas
I mean,
Tolkien was like, oh,
that's
this is
after
the
World War. Yeah, that's all after World War One.
Yeah,
right?
you know,
So yeah, very depressing.
5 out of your 6 friends are dead. So yeah,
that's not funny, but it's like, well,
yeah. So it left a pretty dark stain on their on their writing, and it made Lord of the Rings very unique. Like I remember the first time I read it, you know, you're at the very end of it. There, it's just agonizing steps that Frodo and Sam are going through, just to get there. I mean, it was depressing to read. You're like,
it's not really a happy
No,
movie.
it's not,
You know,
it's
it's like people are like, oh, it's happy, and
No,
it's not.
no,
it's not.
it's
I mean,
not.
you look at it, you're like, it's not.
it's
everybody
a desperate struggle.
Yeah, everybody just gets destroyed. I mean, it's like is Cthulhu over here?
Yeah.
You know, it's like everybody just gets destroyed along the way,
And that's another cool aspect about this is you can make your own. If you ever had an idea for Middle Earth, you can now do it. Like you just got to fit it a little bit into working in the Wilderlands. But if your characters want to carve out their own fiefdom, I mean, it's possible.
That's what I was going to ask. Is it possible for campaign play? Or?
Oh yeah, like the whole journey aspect of it is just from you getting from point A to point B. You still have your adventure to go through, or any side quests that you throw in. This book is chock full of a lot of information.
And that's a player's guide.
This is this is completely a setting book with some rules tweaks to make 5th edition
Middle Earth.
Like,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
To make 5th edition into Middle Earth, right? And it wasn't just we're just going to change this rule or that rule. It's we're going to change the feeling of 5th edition. And they really do it, and it's done in a simple way that's not going to be so complicated that you're like, I'll just play, 5e and throw it in Middle Earth.
Oh, that's cool. I was wondering about that because I think when it came out, I think some of the 5th edition players thought, oh, I could just add this to it. And
right.
Then
you're not going to take your character
okay.
and just cross it over.
No, yeah. I think that's what they thought, but then, it. So if you like Middle Earth and you like 5th edition, very good for you.
Old timers. I shouldn't say that. Any timers, but I mean, old timers. I think will like this a whole lot because
there's a lot of new players or younger guys that like Middle Earth. And
I remember when I think it was Ice Games had the Middle Earth license. That was a long.
Yeah, it was a little
ago.
complicated.
And it
which, by the way, I'm looking for that collection too now. So if you got all that lying around, let me know.
No. That was my buddy's.
Every once in a while, I find stuff. So
this is a gritty game, though. It's definitely more grittier, but. Just a little thing, Hugh, I'm really sorry about sharing this, but I remember when we played Ice, Middle Earth. Ice is the company made it.
Yeah, International.
Something. I mean, this was in the
I can't
late
remember.
80s, early 90s. We took 6 hours to make a character because it took that long to make
they
a
had
character.
charts on charts
right. on charts on top of it. It was
if you shot an arrow, there's like 18 dice rolls to see what happened. So.
Yeah. Speaking of which, so Hugh goes through all this character creation. He makes this great elven character. Very first encounter, the very first minute of the game, we are ambushed. He takes an arrow into the eye, dies instantly. He literally just stood up, threw the sheets, and walked out. And I don't blame him. So this
I've not seen him since.
But this is more grittier than 5th edition, but it's not going to be that gritty. Like it still takes the engine of 5th edition. That's still here. How combat works, how all of that stuff works, that's still in here. This just gives it a ton of flavor and makes it seamlessly go from one type of fantasy, what I like to call like adolescent fantasy power play, where big barbarians and spell slinging, and more into the darker, grittier fantasy stuff. And they did it well. I was, like I said, when I first picked up the book, I'm like, ugh.
I think you were when I suggested, I think you were. I could tell that you were reluctant. Okay.
I mean, it's just a setting.
Like, do it.
Yeah. when I first saw, it, I'm like, okay, it's just another setting. Like, open gaming license is what. This is how this is able to come around because 5th edition has an open gaming license, and I remember from all the other open gaming license, there was so much crap out there. Now I know Cubicle 7 always. That from what I've seen, they made.
They are out of this game, but Cubicle 7, man, they're making a big push.
I mean, and honestly, when I
they know they're not going to be number
to,
one.
Right.
They know they're not maybe number 2, but definitely.
When I saw what they did to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and like how well they treated it, I'm like, this is good. So that's why I'm like, all right, we'll do this one. But yeah, I'm impressed with it, and I think a lot of other people out there will be too. If you like Middle Earth and you already know 5th edition, I mean, I'm not going to say, if you just want to play Middle Earth with 5th edition rules, buy this and then
no, you've made that clear that this isn't like just an add-on to 5th. This is a separate thing, but it just uses the 5th edition rules. It like piggybacks off it. Right. And I know that Wizards, I don't think they're letting everybody just put out whatever they want anymore.
I hope so. I mean,
I've noticed that whatever they come out with, I think they're controlling it a little bit. Like, hey, no, that's garbage. Get rid of that. That's good. They'll let
I don't want to see another Sesame Street.
I listen to you guys and I forget to support.
Diana's our technical woman in training.
Overall, though, if you like Lord of the Rings and you already play 5th edition, I would say if those are the two contingencies, you already know 5th edition and you like Lord of the Rings, go out and pick it up. It's worth the $40.
And that's
hands
just
down.
Yeah, that's the player's guide. Right. I know there's like a lore master's guide or some background guides. I should have brought them in here. I forgot. There's a map set.
This is not a complete system. This right here is just this is what we're going to do to change 5th edition, slightly change the rules to make it much more thematic for Middle Earth.
Mm-hmm.
There's no monsters in here. There's no tips on GMing, and there doesn't need to be. This is just here's the setting, here's how you make characters, here's what we changed as far as rules go. And I'm sure the supplements they'll come out with later on will address all of those things.
They support it pretty steadily, so I'm not.
If you're just like, I want to pick up a new role-playing game, or I've never role-played before,
no,
this is not for you.
Don't do that.
Sorry, this is not for you. Like, you'd have to get a lot of. You'd have to spend about almost $200 in books. To play this. So
if you've never role played, I suggest the D&D. Still for the money, the $20 D&D box set.
Oh, the starter set.
Yeah,
absolutely.
All day,
absolutely. That gives you the very stripped down rules, and then that's the hook. It's kind of
Yeah, I suggest that without remorse to everybody who walks in. $20 will get you. Worst case, if you hate it, you got a set of dice in a box.
And you're out $20.
Yeah.
If you truly hate it,
instead of $200 on some books you don't know.
Right.
What would you say is the? Give me a negative on it, if there is any. Or I shouldn't say negative. Give me something that can be improved or you didn't care for.
Okay, so the things that I didn't care for in general. I guess. It's hard to pin down. I mean, this was just a really good book. I guess.
Oh yeah, you're searching, so that's good.
Yeah,
usually you have something on somebody's, hey, this is what I didn't like or this was bad, but you're. You're actually searching for it.
The book itself, okay, we already hit the negative part of it. If this is not a complete system,
okay,
you know what I'm saying? This is just an add-on. Like I can't just pick this book up and go, all right, guys, let's go play Adventure in Middle Earth. Like that's the only real negative of it. But the book itself, the rules itself. I went through and I.
If they were to put the rules in, it would probably be twice as thick and twice as much.
Oh, and Wizards would kill them. I mean, you can't.
Well, yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure they would have to get permission
pretty quick. Yeah.
Pretty sure they'd need permission, but yeah.
But I mean, for Middle Earth, like I've played Middle Earth type games. Like I said, back in the early '90s, we played the ice version of it, and that was such a convoluted, difficult system. It was like Pendragon on steroids. It was terrible.
Ice. You would literally. It would have charts and charts and charts, and it would take forever to. They wanted detail. If you want detail in a game, play Ice. If you have it, and it's a collectible item. So, and by the way, I'm just looking for the first edition box set. So if anybody has one of those that they're looking to get rid of,
I think I have one of the guides to one of the parts of Middle Earth.
No. I know what I want. I want the.
You want the eye on the front of it.
Oh yeah. If you have it, you know what it is. So you're probably gonna.
I've seen it. Yeah.
I'm always about the eye.
The eye I saw wrong. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I just really liked the book. Like I said, when I first picked it up, I'm like, oh man. But then I got into it. How they treat like magical items. There's no, magical items. They're all heirlooms. You find heirlooms of whatever culture, and I like that aspect of it. Whenever you bring more story whenever you're role playing as opposed to rolling dice role playing, I like that a lot. I like making a story. I like hearing a story. Some people love the charts. Some people love just rolling dice and slaughtering stuff and mutilating the bodies and taking the gold. You know that.
No.
Some people,
that's one of those players.
That's what they like doing, and I have nothing against those. Like that. There's everybody likes to play differently, but for me, anything that adds to story, anything that adds to the flavor of it, I like that more. And this adds a ton of that for your 5th edition game.
Well, that's cool.
I think I'm with you on that. After listening to this.
Diana's sold. Now we're in for Middle Earth. Well, that sounds good.
You got them here on the shelves.
Yeah,
so
I have them on the
down.
shelves. Yep, they have them for sale. If
you're looking for something different for 5th edition, you want to do something different. If you don't want to play Eberron, or you don't want to play Forgotten Realms or homebrew thing, you want something that actually has a setting for you
and a background,
and different. Pick it up. It's like I said, praising it because it's worth the money. For $40, your players will have an entire new setting, entirely new cool rules, and a new way of playing. That instead of buying an entirely new system, you get.
Yeah, well, you did change your mind because, like I said a few minutes ago, Nate didn't want to do it. He didn't want to touch it, and then now he's praising it. So, all right, so cool. All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. I think we're gonna roll up on that one. If you want to get a hold of us, give us a call at the store, 216-712-7169. Go to our website, immortalsinc.com. Facebook, you can message us. We do have an email if you want to send us some ideas or whatever you want to hear or just vent or whatnot. Let Nate read those. Podcast.
Never read the comments.
Yeah. Podcast.immortalsinc@gmail.com. And anything else, Nate?
No. Come on down.
All right. Well, I'd like to thank my wife for coming up here so early and being our technical girl. So
breakfast now.
So now I don't know if anybody's listening, but I guess we're gonna go to the original Pancake House now, which is right outside. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.